Hi, I'm Julie Fry, APRC, and welcome to FPRA Take 5, presented by the Florida Public Relations Association. At FPRA, our goal is to help public relations professionals do their jobs better. Today, our guest is FPRA President Allison Gernert, APRC, and our topic is transforming FPRA. Allison is the Senior Director of Corporate Communications for Universal Orlando Resort, where she has worked on the communications team for more than 13 years. In her role, Allison leads her team in setting global public relations strategy, tactical planning and execution, corporate issues, and crisis management. Allison is no stranger to transformation. During her time with Universal Orlando, she has been closely involved with communicating the destination's evolution, beginning in 2010 with the opening of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Hogsmeade. From there, she and her team went on to launch some of the most popular experiences ever created, including Transformers: The Ride 3D, Despicable Me Minion Mayhem, The Wizarding World of Harry Potter Diagon Alley, and the resort's most recent addition, the Jurassic World Velocicoaster. They may all be a mouthful, but let me tell you, they are all amazing rides. Have not been on the Velocicoaster, but my family recommends it. Allison and her team also handle all the communication strategy for the destination's annual events, including the scary popular Halloween Horror Nights and the ongoing PR efforts around the resort hotels operated in partnership with Lowe's. Allison holds a bachelor's degree in public relations and a bachelor's in English writing from Florida State University. In her spare time, she can be found playing baseball, attempting to skateboard, and riding roller coasters with her sons, Cooper and Holden. Welcome, Allison, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Julie. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like I've let you down. I should have had Transformers here, a little Optimus Prime action. So I'm so sorry that
we can just, we can just reshoot this in front of the Transformers exhibit. Like,
let's do it. Yes. I just need
I wish
5
I was
minutes.
there to go on the ride.
Me too.
That ride. That's
we should have done
one of my
together.
favorites.
It is a good one. Next time.
So we'll start with some background. So let's go back in our time machine to August 2019. You were installed as president of the Florida Public Relations Association. It was meant to be a one-year term, but then 2020, like that's the saying, right? 2020 hit, and you graciously agreed to serve a second term to help FPRA navigate through the challenging year, which we all very much appreciate. Back in 2019, when you unveiled your theme at our annual conference, none of us realized how relevant it would be to all of our lives for the next 2 years. So the theme, of course, was Transform FPRA. So today we are looking back and also looking ahead as we discuss 5 ways we are transforming FPRA. So my first question to you, Allison, is, are you psychic?
Maybe. I've never been psychic before. I actually now feel slightly responsible for what happened. But no, I mean, I could never have imagined in my wildest dreams that theme would become so much.
None of us. I mean, I can't even. It's just
no, but honestly,
naive us back in August 2019. We didn't know.
We were so cute then, but it worked. So in some small way, maybe I am psychic.
So I think we all really had to, I mean, I'm sure you had a certain vision for what Transform FPRA was back in August 2019. And I'm sure that the events of 2020 definitely had an impact. So, what are some of the ways that we transformed FPRA during your time as president?
Yeah, so you're right. My ideas for transforming were much different when we started. And truly those goals transformed over the last 2 years. But, at the beginning, I really established that there were 3 main things that I really felt would transform the association. And, we always do incredible professional development, but that is the core of what our association is here for. So transforming the professional development and continuing that great member benefit was definitely a focus area. But then, I really felt like we needed to transform the way we communicate, get outside of just talking to ourselves and really go beyond our 4 walls of the association to get more exposure for FPRA. And then the third goal, and this was the most important one, and this one we actually have been working on, which I'm really excited to talk more about throughout the course of our conversation, but was really how do we diversify FPRA and grow our membership into areas that will diversify us as a group. And I'm really excited about some things that are going on in that area that we'll talk about. But so very quickly, it was very obvious that some of those things were going to have to take a back seat, and that we really needed to look more at, now we're going into a global shutdown, and people are worried about their families, their own personal health, their careers, and their businesses. And so how do we help them worry about all of those things, but take FPRA somewhere new? I mean, we're a group that loves to be together. We love to be in person, and we love to network and have that interaction with a professional development speaker that's much more, one-on-one focused when you're in person. So now we had to completely stop everything and look at how do we bring professional development in a virtual world? How do we do meetings, networking, anything? And just give our members what they were needing most during that time. And
it's much harder to give hugs over, through the camera of
exactly.
We're so used to being
we started doing like jazz hands and meetings and stuff. I mean, it was crazy. But we had to adjust and adapt, and that led to new tools and new resources that we were going to have to not only make available for members, but we really wanted to work hard. And I think the chapter leadership, the presidents and their boards were the heroes of the moment, because they really had to pivot and really take those monthly meetings that they do for their members to a whole different level. And so the association really wanted to help give them virtual tools that they could leverage to still communicate and network with their members and give that professional development. But then we also were very concerned about how do we find professional development that meets this need of this moment, because none of us have ever been through a global pandemic. And how do you navigate what you need to now know and do and learn as this process is constantly evolving? So those tools and resources were a huge component of our transformation.
Oh yeah, it was really important to make sure that, during this difficult time, as all of our members are, just like we at FPRA were learning new ways to do things, everyone was learning new ways to do things at their jobs. And so because professional development and all of that is so critical, we needed to be able to provide that support to our members so that they could do their jobs better. I mean, I said at the beginning, our FPRA helps professionals do their jobs better. Well, these were completely new ways that people needed to learn. So trying to help provide that support to the chapters, and then for the chapters to their members, I think was really critical. So, I think that it definitely made life a lot easier, hopefully, for the chapters by, kind of bringing the resources in at the state level to help support their efforts.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. Just making people's lives easier was what we were really trying to do. And we had no idea, and you'll remember this, we had no idea if this was working and if people were going to want to renew their membership after they got through their membership year, if they were going to have the financial means, if were still employed. I mean, there were so many things that were really stacked against those ancillary things like a professional membership that we weren't sure how the association would fare coming into 2020, 2021. And I don't know about you, I was thrilled and extremely surprised by our renewal rates that we saw from the chapters. And we're seeing so many new members coming into our pipeline now that I think the fact that we really are this community, and that is what kind of gets you through a trying time, is that sense of family. I strongly believe that is the reason that we are in the great position that the association is in today.
Oh yeah. And then, as you were mentioning about really making that transformation to virtual, trying to keep membership engaged, how, we all have been on a million Zoom meetings this year. And how do you make sure that people are engaged with your chapter and with the association when they're not seeing each other? So I think, the chapters really stepped up, I feel like, and came up with some really great ways of, keeping their members engaged and showing them that, we're all here together. We're here to support you. And it was really great to see.
It really was. And I think that you hit on something that is actually, I'd say, one of the next ways that the association really transformed. And it was all about that communication and how do you keep people, to your point, exact point, engaged. And so, things like what you're doing right here, like this is our first toe in the water into podcasting. And I love it. And, but this is the way forward. Is this virtual world that we have become accustomed to recently is not going to completely go away. I firmly believe that. And, podcasting was something that I was interested in us getting into even before the pandemic, but
yes, I remember.
I remember you felt the pressure, didn't you? Yeah. But it really is just another way for us to connect and provide information and really, help our members grow in a way that can be easily consumed. And so, finding new ways to communicate and share professional development, like something like this, was something that we really had to embrace. And change is hard. Change is really hard. And we were going through so much change so quickly that I think, it was very scary for all of us. Moving into a professional development world that is totally virtual, where you cannot stand and talk to someone face to face, that's not comfortable. Yeah. And so we all had to embrace it. And I just applaud the members. I applaud the chapters for how they really wanted to still be together. They wanted to have that professional development. They found ways to do networking and happy hours and coffees and trivia nights. I mean, there were just so many creative things happening that I think our souls all needed a little bit of that on the side.
And also bringing in speakers from elsewhere that would not have traveled to, Florida, to the various, towns to be in a chapter, to present at a chapter. I feel like, folks really took advantage of the positive sides of virtual, in that they were really able to bring in some really exciting speakers. And also, I know just it was fun to pop on and go to some of those meetings, where I wouldn't have been able to drive, but to see some of the great professional development that the chapters had, and then be able to go, oh, I can actually it's only going to cost me an hour out of my day and I can go, versus, needing to drive to their, to their town and stuff. So that was really exciting to see too.
It broke down the traditional chapter barrier of a geographic location and did exactly what you just said. It made it okay for someone from Tallahassee to go to a Southwest Florida meeting if they wanted to, because it was just, let me click a link and I'm there. And so you're right. The fact that it opened up our membership to interact more outside of their chapters with other chapters was really great to watch. And your point about speakers from around the world, and from other locations, the chapters did incredible jobs recruiting speakers that were really top notch. And then in turn, the promotion of those speakers really got people from overseas around the world interested in attending their meetings. So, I said one of the goals was to communicate FPRA outside of our four walls. Man, the chapters nailed it, because those speakers were getting the interest of people in Europe and in some of the South American countries, and they were tuning in to their chapter professional development. So, I think that there's a lot of really terrible things that happened during the pandemic, obviously. But the fact that some of these things have allowed FPRA to grow and thrive in a new way, and to learn a new way of doing business, not everything has been all bad, which is good to see.
Yeah, and on that note, I really feel like we've been able to expand in ways and do new things. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, then I think the next and most impressive thing that I've watched happening is just the growth. To your point, no one would have seen growth during a pandemic coming. In fact, we were nervous we wouldn't at all. And so, when we saw that there were, and this started right before the pandemic, we saw there was some interest in the Miami area. We have long wanted to be in Miami with a professional chapter again, because it's been decades since we've had a chapter in that neck of the woods. So there were efforts happening behind the scenes to try and get us there. But then we had a great opportunity with Barry University down in Miami to get them involved and get them chartered as a student chapter, and we did. And from that, the woman who is their student advisor she is a professional member, and she is literally heading up the establishment and the chartering of a Miami professional chapter.
That's so exciting.
It's great to see, there's former students of FPRA chapters from around the state who are in Miami now working, and we're talking to them and they're like, yes, we want this. We need this in this area. So yes, there's such energy now down in Miami. And I would love to say that during my tenure as president that chapter will charter, but it will definitely be into the 21-22 year. And that's great, because that diversification and that growth is exactly the shot in the arm that we need as an association right now. And so I'm just so appreciative of Marielle Valentine Lopez, who is down in that area. She is the Barry University professional member who is leading that charge. And we're not done. There's actually a lot of energy in the student area right now, because we've rechartered the UWF chapter up in the Panhandle this year. So that's thanks to the Pensacola and Northwest Florida Coast chapters work together on getting that chapter up and running again. And there's interest at USF. We are like this close to chartering that chapter. And there's another chapter I can't mention, but I think
yes,
who I'm talking about. So just keep an eye out for that. But that growth
to be announced
amazing.
Hopefully soon. But yes,
very soon for the next year.
Yes.
But that's the kind of growth that an association can only hope for, and it is absolutely happening, and it's great to see.
And it's really exciting when the student chapters, because then that only feeds into the membership, like you were saying, having former student members who are now in Miami, they're looking for an FPRA chapter to be professional members of, so that that growing the student chapters only helps overall. And then it's great for us. I know one of the things, I love is just the mentorship that's available within FPRA. So having more students involved is really going to be great opportunity for, our professionals to kind of really reach out and provide their expertise and advice to students and help them in their careers. So that's
Absolutely.
Really exciting.
Well, and that's really where our ability to continue diversifying FPRA and frankly, the profession is really going to come into play. And that actually takes us into the next way that we've transformed. There was an incredible amount of social unrest in 2020, and we would be just blind to turn away from that and not embrace what that means for us as PR practitioners and what it means for FPRA as an association. And so we started efforts. We created a task force for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that group has done a lot of great work this year, starting to lay a foundation for what does diversity look like for our association, and what does equity look like, and what does inclusion look like. They are all very different things, but they're all tied together in this foundation. So we've really made huge steps in this area. We used to about a decade ago have a group that was looking at this, but unfortunately, as a year ends and new leadership comes in, and things happen in life, that task force had dismantled. So we didn't want the efforts that we started this time to end up, kind of fizzling out. So for that reason, I created a VP of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the executive committee that will start in the year ahead, just to maintain that energy and to not lose sight of how important this topic is.
And it's important for continuity also, as you go year in and year out, to have the initiatives that one group, comes up with continue to be supported from year to year. Having the person who really advocates for that on the board and brings that voice to board meetings is really important.
That's right. And we can't let this, kind of fall to the wayside anymore. We did a lot of work this year. We surveyed our membership, and we've gotten so much good insight and data to work from. But us as a task force, we understood we are not DE&I experts. We are PR practitioners, and we can look at the data and we can analyze it. But now having to put that into an actionable plan, we have to be so methodical and mindful of what is really going to be important to FPRA as our association, but then to the profession. So for that reason, it became very clear to us, we need to bring in an outside third-party expert who can really help us navigate what we're going to do as far as action planning. So that's the next step, and that's where we are in this process. And it's really exciting because we're bringing in someone who I think can really take our mission as an association, and what we're seeing with, there's a deficit in students coming into PR that are diverse. So how do we help impact that while also educating our members on DE&I topics, making it okay to have hard conversations about this topic? Those are things that this task force is focused on, and a huge transformation for this association.
It's such important work, and bringing in an expert with kind of that outside view really can make sure that we're putting a spotlight on all of the issues and making sure that all professionals feel included, not just in FPRA, but really in the field. You had mentioned that, earlier, that really, it's about the public relations profession as a whole as well. So I think, it's really exciting to see these changes, and I can't wait to see, with the new VP position and the external expert, what is to come as we look forward.
Me too. It's going to be big, because it has to be. So.
Yeah,
we're putting that focus on it.
And I mean, going back to inclusion, you talked earlier about how important we are as a community, as a family, for FPRA. So you really want to make sure that everybody feels included, and to be part of the group. So, I know that was something you had mentioned too, is how important that family and community approach is to you and is to the organization.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of the final way that FPRA continues to transform. This is not something that I started. This is something that has been a thing for as long as I can remember, as long as I've been a part of FPRA, and I'm sure even before. But
we know before, because the family approach really started with you. For those who don't know how involved Allison's family has been with FPRA from the beginning. But so it truly is a family affair with your family. But
it is. Well, and we've seen other families, whose kids are getting into the PR world as well. I think of John McShafery and his daughter, and I know there are others too. But you're right. It's definitely in my blood. It's in my family. But I think that when you look, and I've been a member of many other associations or groups, and I really believe that this family community environment is a key differentiator for FPRA, because you can go and you can get professional development at other places, and you can go and you can hear from experts in other places. But what truly is special about FPRA, in a way that I think we transform a membership into an association, is how we rally around each other in this network of professionals that we've created over the years. I mean, you could reach out to anyone across the state and ask an opinion, or look for advice, just because of those relationships that you've built, and that's because of how this association interacts with each other. And that's just really special. It's not something that you see. We're about to come together. We always come together and celebrate. Every month there's celebrations. At annual conference there are celebrations. We love to celebrate each other's successes. But I think what we've learned, especially over this past year, is that we also come together and support each other when difficult things happen.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, to know that your chapter members, that the association leadership, that the professionals you've met along the way. I mean, they were all an email or a phone call away, and it really, really helped us, especially as, some of the major changes that our organizations went through. The public relations professionals were a key leader in those changes, and knowing that we had each other to kind of reach out to and have that support through it. I know that's what's important to me about FPRA, is just how accessible the other professionals are and what a great support network it is.
I couldn't agree more. And, from the pandemic to, we've been in a very strange year where we've lost more members than I can remember us losing in a single year before. And watching the other chapters rally around chapters who have lost members, watching, even recently with Dr. Jay Rayburn's passing, how the association literally came together to remember him. Those are the moments that, again, I think just differentiate us and make this the association I want to be a part of, regardless of, growing up in it. It is that family, and it is an important distinction.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we are also excited to be returning to in-person meetings and events such as annual conference. It's really hard to believe that we're at the end of your two-year term as FPRA president. 2019 seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
It really does. This has been a long 2 years, but no, I'm so grateful for the ability to serve 1 year as this association's president, because it is so special to me. To be asked to do it for 2 years was it was a no-brainer. I was like, there was no way I was going to walk away, because it was too important. And I'm grateful that I was a part of transforming the association with the amazing executive committee and state board members that have been with me for 2 years now. I could not have done any of this without any of them. And of course, our amazing Sheree Keys-Shima from the state office and her team. This group is why this association continues to transform. And I'm just grateful that I was even a part of it.
Yes, and we're also lucky to have Sheree for sure. This has been quite a transforming couple of years for her and her team. But I do want to also thank you for your great leadership, Allison, because it's been a challenging time, and having the continuity of leadership during that time really helped our chapters, really helped all of us. And so it's been great talking to you. I'm going to summarize a little bit what we talked about today. So we shared a lot of great lessons. I mean, we've all learned a lot of great lessons these past 2 years, that changed our approach to work, to life, to how we do everything. Certainly the chapters, all had to transform and find new ways to do things. So as we look back at FPRA's transformations, our take 5 for today is, so number one, we learned how to be nimble and adjust to a virtual world. Number 2, we developed new ways to communicate, like the podcast we're doing now, but also the virtual professional development offerings that we discussed. We grew the association even during this very challenging time. So that's very exciting. And thanks to everyone for your efforts for that. We focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and put a plan in place for continued focus. And we leaned on each other and supported each other, because that's what family is for. And, as we look at this top 5, I think everyone, can look back at these past 2 years and just really, be proud of all the work that everyone's accomplished, because it was a really interesting time, but we did some really great work, and I'm really excited to see where the next steps are. And thank you so much, Allison, for your time today, but also, like I said, your amazing leadership for FPRA during this very historic moment in time.
Oh, thank you, Julie. I was, again, so excited to do this with you. I think it was a great conversation. So thank you for having me.
This has been FPRA Take 5. Hope you can join us next time.